Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the natal chart of Vanessa Bryant. Vanessa Bryant, of course, is the widow of the late, great, legendary NBA player, former NBA player Kobe Bryant, and just wanted to do her chart as well. I did some of you may know I did analysis with Kobe Bryant's chart, and then his daughter Gianna, who of course sadly perished in that tragic helicopter crash. Now, I wanted to say once again that I want to offer my condolences, prayers to the family and friends of Kobe Bryant and Vanessa Bryant, Gianna Bryant. If you know anyone, if you, they're likely not going to see this video, but if you know any of these people that I described, just tell and give them the message if you can. And anyway, the first thing I was looking at, of course, Vanessa Bryant, I couldn't find her birth time online, so I want to just let you know off the bat that I improvised. I did like you call it a solar sunrise chart. I put where the sun is placed at the ascendant, the time where the sun is placed at the ascendant point in the chart. So anyway, now the first thing when I'm looking at Vanessa Bryant's chart, okay, I saw she has the sun in Taurus and her moon is in Libra. So it tells me, I mean, looking at the sun in Taurus, the basic wants are about values and things of a monetary nature, having their resources and possessions and stability and their peace. And the moon in Libra can have the emotional need for ingratiating themselves with others, bouncing ideas off others, things that are connected with art. I mean, it could be like graphic art design or what have you. Anything that could be Libra related, matters connected with the law, perhaps arbitration, wanting to negotiate, compromise. And the thing about it is, I mean, life as far as life after Kobe Bryant. I mean, looking at her chart now, the thing about it is I noticed that based on, I mean, as far as the solar sunrise chart, of course, again, not to be redundant, I don't know her birth time, but based on the solar sunrise chart, she has a preponderance of planets on the bottom half of the chart, which of course could suggest more introversion, introspection, being a lot more to herself. My understanding is she was at least a somewhat private person, in spite of being in the limelight to some degree, being connected, being married to a legendary basketball player, Kobe Bryant. Now, another thing too, as far as Vanessa Bryant goes, I mean, I noticed she had a number of planets in Libra, and three of them were in the sixth house. One of them was conjunct the sixth house cusp from the fifth, was Mars in Libra. What this tells me is, and Saturn in Libra is another one. Saturn in Libra can represent the career. It tells me that as far as life after Kobe Bryant goes, I don't know if she's currently involved in any career, but if she is in something in the future, indicates to me that it could be something connected, something Libra related, and also Libra falls on the sixth house cusp in that solar sunrise chart. Something she could do, I mean, something with art, I mean, which could cover a wide divergence of things. It could be something with graphic art design or sculpting, drawing, painting, maybe even acting or being an actress. Anything that could be associated with the art or the arts, or even doing something else Libra related, such as working with the law, working as an attorney or paralegal or court reporter, doing something with relationships. And these are some things that I noticed looking at, I mean, her chart. And sadly, what I noticed too in her chart, I mean, as far as I mean, the thing about this is, now she also, I mean, as far as some transits go that took place at the time of this helicopter crash that Kobe Bryant and Gianna Bryant were sadly involved in. Now she's going through her nodal return right now, Vanessa Bryant. Transit North Node is in Cancer. It's in the same placement as her nodal position. Now, and when you have, I mean, nodal returns, of course, could bring about significant events in many cases in one's life. It's issues that I would say one would have to confront in many cases. And you're talking about the North Node in Cancer being in her third house in that solar sunrise chart. That could be where the one's future, natally the one's future, can be tied into home, family, introverted communications, and even short journeys, and taking little short trips with family members. But the thing about this is, and also nurturing your communications, but when you have that, and then she's having the return. Sadly, she lost two prominent family members, of course, Kobe and Gianna, and I think that this might have manifested in having to confront issues that were connected with with family in a short journey, since we're talking about the third house. So anyway, in transit North Node in Cancer, I believe, was either at least at her, in her third house, or if it was in the second, it was still very close to the third house cusp. But anyway, the nodal placement is still falls in the third house in her solar sunrise chart I cast for. But now, another thing is, at this time, she also had transit Chiron, making a conjunction to her Venus, sadly, or her natal Venus in Aries. And sadly, I mean, when you have transit Chiron hitting your Venus, this could sometimes, I mean, give some kind of suffering or some emotional wounds tied into a relationship. Sometimes it can be a significant other. It can, in this case, being an Aries, it's not a shocker that this was something connected with an accident, something of a volatile nature, and something where you have an explosion, because I believe there was an, Mars rules Aries, and of course that could be connected with explosions, and I believe there was something explosive that took place when the helicopter, when it crashed in that accident, sadly. And this is in the 12th house of and that solar sunrise chart for Vanessa. That is in the 12th house of secret sorrows. And sadly, it tells me too that in having that chart ruler in that 12th house as well, that a lot of her, I mean, her energy, I mean, again, having the preponderance of planets below the horizon, the chart ruler in the 12th house tells me that Vanessa probably was very introverted, very reserved, very much more private than wanting to be public. And having, Sun and Taurus people are often about really just having their, maybe a few friends, a few acquaintances, maybe somebody they may have known from work or something, and they're very often restricted in the amount of people that they allow into their lives. As many of you may know, I have Taurus rising, and I don't have many people in my life. I also have Saturn in the 12th house, which doesn't help, because Saturn in the 12th house people may need to learn to let others into their lives, and can be very somewhat secluded, and even reclusive in some cases, reclusive tendencies. But anyway, going back to Vanessa Bryant's chart, sadly, she did have that transit as well. And the thing about it, and thing about this too, is that for looking at Vanessa's chart, another thing as far as a transit I thought was pretty sad. Now, she has Juno in Capricorn in her chart, and it was like 9 degrees, and at this time the set transit south node was making a separating conjunction aspect to it. When you have the south node in astrology, as I've stated in previous videos, can often be about separations, what we're going away from. Juno in astrology can be connected with the marriage or marriage partner. It can describe that one that maybe perhaps we may actually need. I believe Juno is in Capricorn. Now, going back to Kobe Bryant's chart, based on the 5 p.m. speculative birth time, his ascendant would be in Capricorn. Juno is in the solar sunrise chart for Vanessa Bryant. Juno is in Capricorn in that 9th house. And this could indicate at the least a person you may marry that might be very older, and even not just older in age, but mature beyond their years. Someone that's very responsible, ambitious, could be career oriented. And when you have that transit, and ninth house can be associated with sports. I mean, it's the house of Sagittarius. So this was like this could very well, I mean, symbolize the marriage partner, Kobe Bryant, that was in, something involved in sports, obviously. And when you have the transit south node making a separation from Juno, sometimes I believe this can increase propensity for a loss of a marriage partner, whether it be through a divorce or, like in this case, sadly, this was associated with an actual death. So, I mean, it's just terrible the way this went down. I thought it was another thing too. I noticed as far as like I saw something interesting with the synastry between astrological synastry between Kobe and Vanessa. Kobe's Uranus and Scorpio makes an opposition to Vanessa's Sun in Taurus. Now, I mean, what this tells me is that, I mean, we understand what Kobe did for a good part of their relationship with Vanessa, that he was involved in, playing his career in basketball, and those career matters may have taken precedence in for a good part of the time. When somebody has their Uranus making an opposition to one's sun, this could indicate that that person may feel there's that need there. They may often be away from that person. Some cases it could be over freedom and independence issues, but in this case it's just the way it was based on the situation. And Sun and Taurus can be a little bit possessive at times in a negative manifestation. So this was something that she probably had certain difficulty dealing with, more so than the average person. Because of this, she might have wanted to be, there might have been a little bit of a possessive quality with Vanessa that wanted to maybe smother Kobe, maybe to some degree, but it obviously wasn't going to happen, as far as based on Kobe's career and his situation with the LA Lakers, now being a dominant player, being on the team itself. But the thing about it is, another thing that I noticed in their synastry was that, looking at it, that she has Jupiter in Scorpio conjunct Kobe's Uranus in Scorpio. And the thing about that is, I mean, you wonder, well, how can that manifest? Well, this could obviously be, something where she was very fortuitous toward Kobe's future. And I mean, it could also be a situation. I mean, you're talking about, of course, Scorpio is the sign of shared resources. So obviously that could be very beneficial and prosperous to a shared resources situation as well. Now, Kobe may not have needed the help, given how prosperous he was and how affluent he was in making that money in that great career he had with the LA Lakers, but you understand what I'm saying. It still could be auspicious for one's future when you have that aspect in synastry. And just makes me wonder, if Kobe had survived, what could she have done something else that might have been beneficial to his future in his career, with the exception, of course, just being the significant other. This marriage partner could have been doing something Scorpio related, such as something with mechanical work, or something with the cold, astrology, locksmithing, something with working with insurance, or something that's connected with transformation, whether it could be the transformation of others' lives or what have you. So, I mean, thought it was very interesting. And also, she had, in the solar sunrise chart, she had Uranus in her 7th house. And when somebody has Uranus in their 7th house in their natal chart, sometimes this could indicate the marriage to somebody, could either be a foreigner or somebody of a different ethnic background. In this case, obviously different race. Vanessa was Hispanic. Kobe Bryant was African American or black. however you want to say that. But that to me, and being in Sagittarius, not a shocker, nothing be was bewildered over the fact that he was in sports. So there you go. And anyway, that's pretty much it that I wanted to say about this. But another thing I noticed too, I want to just going back a little bit. To back to Vanessa's natal chart, she also, what I noticed too is that she has Mercury in Gemini making an opposition to her Uranus in Sagittarius. Now, it tells me when you have your Uranus in adverse aspect to Mercury, it could often indicate somebody that might be involved in very sporadic, erratic in communications, ones that are communications that could be very intermittent. And being in and having her Mercury in Gemini, it shows a lot of restlessness in those communications as well, and ones that could become bored and monotonous. And the thing about it is, being in that situation with Kobe Bryant and the fact that he was played basketball for so many years, obviously that was could have that Mercury opposition Uranus could have been connected with that to some degree, because she didn't because obviously if you're married to a professional athlete, your communications can be very intermittent and really sporadic and erratic. But in the rest of her life, it shows that maybe her communications can be a little bit intermittent. It might have something to do. I mean, in blending in Mercury being in Gemini, flavoring that sign it's in, of course, could play the fact that she might get very bored easily in certain kinds of communications, ones that can be overly monotonous, because her mind probably is very geared toward intellectually stimulating conversations and talking about a wide divergence of things, given that Mercury is in Gemini. Anyway, people, that's pretty much it for my take on Vanessa Bryant's astrology chart. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.